Welcome back to the Kosi Arsenal channel. My name is Kosi. Welcome back to a brand new video. Arsenal are looking to make about 7 signings this summer, according to David Onstein. And he says the couple of positions that Arsenal are looking to sign at least 2 players, including the goalkeepers. Now, it's another summer where Arsenal are going to be going out there to sign again 2 goalkeepers. What is going on? Why are we changing as many goalkeepers almost every single year as we can dare? Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel as well. What are Mikel Arteta's key positions? What are the players that we are looking to bring in these positions? And why are we going to make about 7 signings? I mean, it was reported quite a couple of days ago that Arsenal were looking to make 5 big signings under Andre Bata, and they were considering at least 2 wingers, 2 midfielders, and a striker. So if you're looking to make 5 big signings, what about these other profiles? Could our summer go up to 7 signings in one window? We're going to be exploring that story. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel as well. Let me know as we enter the summer. I know that all Arsenal fans are in agreement that we need a new striker and we also need a winger. But how many signings do you think Arsenal need to really compete with Liverpool, Manchester City, Bayern, Real Madrid for the next season? I mean, the Champions League, we're already doing well. If we win the Champions League, it puts us under more pressure. And of course, the Premier League, Liverpool winning it this season, we should have been Arsenal. But Liverpool winning it means we have to step up our ranks. We have to step up our efforts next campaign. Otherwise, we might not win it as well. So how many signings do you think Arsenal need to add to the current squad in order for us to be champions next season? So David Onstein says that it's going to be quite a very important and eventful summer for Arsenal. First and foremost, Andre Bata is a big fan of a couple of players that Arsenal are really looking at as well. And he says one of the positions that Arsenal will look at is the goalkeeping position. They're looking to sign 2 new goalkeepers, and he explains it this way. First and foremost, Joan Garcia is going to be coming in as a second-choice goalkeeper unless something changes. Arsenal have done a couple of groundwork, on this one. Arsenal have already agreed personal terms with the player. We have talked to the players' representatives, and everything seems to be in position and in place. So Joan Garcia is going to be Arsenal's new second choice. Neto is going to be going back on loan to Bournemouth. That much is known. However, David Onstein says that at the moment, Arsenal want to send out Tommy Setford, who is the third-choice goalkeeper, on loan. And that means that 2 goalkeepers are going to be departing the Emirates Stadium once again this summer, and are going to be seeing 2 new goalkeepers arriving at the Arsenal in the same summer. Now, personally, I would be I would say angry with Arsenal going again and failing to deal with the goalkeeping situation. But this actually makes a lot of sense. Tommy Setford is a young goalkeeper that is really talented. And if Arsenal want him to develop into the goalkeeper that we want him to be, we might have to let him go and get some game time elsewhere. Probably that could be the Championship, that could be in the Netherlands or anywhere. And that leaves you with a gaping hole in the goalkeeping department. We have been told that Mikel Arteta is a big fan of the psychological elements of the game, including competition and players pushing each other. So he wants David Raya, to be pushed by world-class goalkeepers, by world-class second options, right? The way you see Ederson and Ortega at Manchester City, Ederson is a world-class goalkeeper, but Ortega, you can argue, is a world-class backup goalkeeper. So it makes sense that we're going for 2 goalkeepers this summer, especially with Neto going back to Bournemouth. I think his loan spell has been, probably I would say it has been okay, because you have this ever-reliable David Raya. Arsenal haven't really had to call on to Neto in times of need. Now, that could change. We are still playing the season. We're still in the Champions League, and we're still in the Premier League as well. But I can confirm that David Raya has been ever reliable, and Neto hasn't really been needed. Maybe in training to push David Raya just as a second choice goalkeeper. But even when we needed to use a backup, we have used Tommy Setford, or we have used another option outside Neto. So that already tells you that Arsenal have no plans of keeping Neto at the club. And also Tommy Setford, if he's gonna go, then 2 new goalkeepers will come. We know one of them it is John Garcia, but we don't know who the other is. Now, those are already two players that Arsenal could be bringing in, and that takes the tally to 2. The third player is a defender, and Arsenal are looking at a left-sided centre-back who can also play at left-back, but it can't be ruled out that we can go out there and do a deal on a proper left-back. Now, Arsenal have been linked with Milos Kerkez at Bournemouth. He's a very, very, very interesting player, devastating pace, delivery is quality, and he's got that accuracy on his swingers that I really, really love. But you're also looking at other options that are centre-backs who can also play in the same position. Jura Hato at Ajax was asked about his career as left-back, and he said, I talked to Julian Timber about playing as a fullback, and he's a role model to me. And Arsenal, we know, for the last 2 years, have been big, big fans of Jura Hato. I won't be surprised, therefore, if this summer it so happens that Arsenal just go out there and sign Jura Hato from Ajax. We are also looking at other players like Tarek Mitchell. We're looking at other players like McGahey, and I'm also looking at players like Dean Hewson at Bournemouth, and that already tells you there is something there. Arsenal are considering a backup centre-back to Gabriel, but also someone who could be a backup, a reliable backup to Miles Lewis-Kelly and Ricardo Calafiori. Now, I think, again, one more defender this summer is going to cause a lot of debate among the Arsenal fan base, but also among, football pundits. Why are Arsenal adding one more defender, yet they have the best defense in Europe? We are one of the best teams in defense in Europe. Now, there is a reason, and I think the reason is justified. When you think about the departures that Arsenal are looking at this summer, we are looking at a couple of departures in our backline. Kieran Tierney, although many people did expect him to play a lot of time, the injuries that we have suffered this campaign have led us to depend quite heavily on his services, and he has delivered. But also the likes of Alexander Zinchenko, who has been actually phased out of pecking order. I think he's gonna leave. There's no question about that. I think there is a big possibility that Zinchenko leaves Arsenal this summer. And then there is also that possibility of Jakub Kiwior. But even if it's not that, you don't expect Takehiro Tomiyasu to be fit anytime soon. And even if he comes back, you don't expect him to be fit for a long period of time. And when you consider fitness issues, you've got to think about Ricardo Calafiori. So Mikel Arteta thinking about that. I have injury issues with Tomiyasu. I have injury concerns when it comes to Ricardo Calafiori. Those are the two players that would have been backups at left centre-back and also backups at left-back. They're injury prone. I can't trust their availability. And then Kieran Tierney is leaving, Alexander Zinchenko is leaving, and Jakub Kiwior is a subject of interest to many clubs in Italy. It just so makes sense that Arsenal go out in the market and sign one more defender. Now, personally, if you ask me, who do I want? Jura Hato. I really like the idea of Jura Hato. But when I think about Miles Lewis-Kelly, is his future at left back? The way you see Trent Alexander-Arnold is a very good player as a midfielder, very good on the ball, but he's been playing out at right back, and it is completely working out very, very well. I mean, him going to Madrid, we can release Vinicius, Mbappe, Rodrigo. It's going to be a devastating team. So I think Jura Hato is a very interesting player, but if Arsenal really want a real fullback, we could look at Milos Kerkez. 40-45 million euros, it makes a lot of sense. But I'm not here to discuss names. I'm here to discuss positions, and that takes the tally to 3 players in 2 different positions that Arsenal are looking to fill this summer. So let's move to the midfield. Now, this is where it's going to be enjoyable because Arsenal could lose a couple of players in midfield. Fabio Vieira, his future is undecided, but if you ask me, it is leaning towards him leaving the club rather than staying. Thomas Partey, he's had a very good couple of games, but with Martin Zubimendi coming in, it's more like he's going to leave rather than he's going to stay. Now, I don't want to say conclusively that Partey is going to leave, because we don't have that information that Partey is leaving. But Arsenal are not working on a new deal for Thomas Partey, and his contract runs down this summer, and that tells you everything you need to know about that situation. There is also the possibility of Jorginho leaving. It's not just a small possibility, it's a possibility about 99.9%. So if you lose Jorginho, and you lose Partey, and you lose Fabio Vieira, you're losing a couple of elements in those three departures. One, you're losing the experience of Jorginho and Partey. You're losing your two best DMs in the squad. And with Fabio Vieira, you're losing a creative player, a backup to Martin Odegaard, but also that creativity that you could use with the arrival of a striker. So if you lose those players, that means you've got to reinforce the midfield. Yes, we have Declan Rice, Mika Merino, Kai Havertz, and Martin Zubimendi coming in, but that is not enough. So we are looking at two midfielders arriving at Arsenal, minimum. Two midfielders coming in at the club, minimum. Martin Zubimendi is definitely one of them. Unless something changes, a 50.2 million deal is already agreed. But who is going to be the next one? Now, this is quite interesting because we are losing two defensive midfielders. So Arsenal are looking at Hugo Larsson. He's a defensive midfielder, central midfielder. He can play in those two positions very well. And it won't surprise me. I mean, he's losing Partey. He's losing Jorginho as well. He might need to replace those players like for like. Zubimendi for Partey and maybe Hugo Larsson for Jorginho. We are also told that Andre Bata, the new sporting director, really likes Bruno Guimaraes at Newcastle. But then, Arsenal are also looking at attacking options in midfield. And these attacking options include, but not limited to, the big Adagula, Xavi Simons, Leroy Sané, and a couple of others. So that tells you that Arsenal are looking at either two midfielders that are different, one as a defensive midfielder who could be backed up by Declan Rice, and then the other, an attacking midfielder who could be backed up by Kai Havertz. If you asked me, I would go with the latter rather than the former. Let's go with two midfielders, one attacking, Xavi Simons, and then the other, a defensive midfielder to replace Thomas Partey. Of course, we have Declan Rice and Mikel Merino. I am 100% confident we shall pull through. We won't have a crisis because we are losing two DMs and we are bringing in just one. And then the front line is the main point of focus for Arsenal this summer. Never forget that. We are looking to bolster our attacking options, and Mikel Arteta is serious this time. He has used all the buzzwords in the world. We need options. We need a couple of skills. We need a skill set that we don't have. We need effectiveness and the profiles that we need that we do not have. He has used all the language in the English dictionary to tell you he needs effective attackers this summer. And a striker is one of the priorities for Andre Bata this summer. Obviously, if we sign two midfielders, that takes the tally to 5 players. So, we are looking at a striker. And again, Arsenal are being rumored to not look at one, but 2 strikers. One as a main striker, the way you see Victor Gyökeres, Alexander Isak, or someone like Benjamin Sesko. And then Arsenal are also looking at a backup striker. And that could be Matthias Cunha, who is a versatile player, can play everywhere. Or that could be a Jonathan David on a free deal. If you ask me, it makes sense. It really does. First and foremost, I think Victor Gyökeres is a good player. Sesko is good and Isak are good. But all of them are not machines. They could pick up injuries and they could go through a goal drought. I mean, we have seen that and it happens all the time. All strikers go through a goal drought. Unless you are Robert Lewandowski, Erling Haaland, or you are a Cristiano Ronaldo or Messi. If not that, you will go through a goal drought and it's part of the game. So if you have Victor Gyökeres coming in or Alexander Isak, during a time where you want more goals or you want a decisive winner, you might want to add another striker on the pitch. So 2 strikers makes a lot of sense. And if Arsenal are going to get 2 strikers, that takes the tally to 7 players already. And then the wingers. Now, when it comes to the wingers, David Stein and Fabrizio have said Arsenal have considered this for a long time, and this is the summer where they go out there and get their proper ideal left winger. Now, I don't know whether it's going to happen that we bring in Nico Williams as the priority or we go for someone else, but we know a winger is arriving. But then there's a question. Do we need two wingers? Possibly, possibly not. Now, the people that believe Ethan Nwaneri has a future on the wings, the way he's done this season, then possibly we don't need two wingers. But if you believe that Ethan Nwaneri is a number 10, is a midfielder, kind of a Phil Foden, then maybe we might actually, just actually, need two wingers. So if Arsenal need two wingers, then that means we might have to sign about 9 players. But if we need one, then that takes the tally to 8 players this summer. So what kind of budget do we have? I mean, that could cost about 250 million. Do Arsenal have 250 million to splash around this summer? Yes, we do, and we could have that kind of budget. Also, it will depend on outgoings. If Arsenal can move on players as quickly as possible, there is no reason why these deals cannot happen. Hit the like button, smash that subscribe button as well, and I speak to you right in the next one.